Welcome to Sfera Talks. Our guests are interesting people who live among us. And today our guest is Olli Manni, who is the chairman of Coalition Party board in Turku. Hello.
Hello, nice to be here.
Olli, you are half a century in politics, from like early 70s or even earlier.
Yes, it's really about 50 years now when I started politics in student union, and I was elected in the board in the student union in 1970, so it's 50 years.
50 years, so first congratulations, of course. Why? How did it start and why?
In early 70s and late 60s, the politics were student union was very political, and also students were moving in left and right then. And I had to decide in which side I would be, and I decided that I am with the coalition party and with the open society. I didn't want to be in a socialist system, and that's why I decided to go to politics in student union.
And there was no possibility to not move to left, to right, and just to be outside of politics.
It was very hard those days. Almost everybody was with the politics in those days. And in student union, people votes, over 60% of students were voting, and it was quite amazing because many of them were not living in Turku, and still so many were with the politics.
Why?
It was those times when if you weren't in the politics, you were out everything about. It was about 10 years that politics were very hard in those days. You had to decide your way.
Was it because it was this USA versus USSR, this division of the world,
yes,
basically?
It was really a little bit of that. It was the Vietnam time. People were quite a lot against USA because of that. I didn't like Vietnam at all, but still I thought that the system, open system, which coalition party is with, is the better one, so that everybody is responsible of itself. So it won't be societies to say what you have to do, but you yourself, you decide what's best for you.
So it's like liberal agenda,
Yes.
basically.
Yes.
That the person is self-sufficient,
Yes.
and the person is must himself or herself decide what
Yes.
to do, and not some government telling him that you should.
Yes, that's what I meant.
What were the most interesting experiences from that student time when you just started?
You know, in many places the far left was leading the politics. But in Turku, coalition party was almost half. We had almost 50% of the voters in those days. And it meant that we were responsible of the student union for many years, and also we had good relations to Sweden and also in Soviet Union, because of Leningrad was our twin city for Turku, and we visited there many times. And it was very interesting to know people from the socialist time, and later, because when the system changed in Russia, the same people were responsible also after the system changed, and to see how it worked, and it was very, very interesting to see those days what is happening in the world.
You mean 70s, or you mean already later?
It started 70s, but you could see in 20 years I have been with the politics, how things changed in the world. How different it was after 20 years.
Yeah. And what were the principal differences?
You know, because the people were the same, they didn't change, but the system changed. To see that almost everybody could be different after the system changed
In Soviet Union.
In Soviet Union, that was interesting, and also to see what happened in Finland after there was no Soviet Union, because the far left in Finland, they always said that Soviet Union is the best place, and we should go along with them. But when it changed, everything was different also in Finland. We didn't have to think always what happens in Soviet Union. It was open, the world was open much more, and we could have open discussions, and we didn't have to think everything, is this right or wrong? We could say everything.
Yeah.
And the same people were there.
In Russia already, in the post-Soviet Russia.
In Russia, and also if we went to Poland and Hungary and so on, how could the same people change their ideas about the society and still work?
So you mean that actually those colleagues that you had in Soviet Union in the 70s, they were very red, they were very communist.
Yes.
And then in the 90s they became very liberal and very democratic.
Many of them, yes.
Do you think they were sincere?
I have a good example. His name was Gorbachev, who was the chairman of the student organization in Leningrad in 75 or something like 76. And later in 95, I think, he came the vice mayor of St. Petersburg. And he was the same person, and he was a very nice person. And we had good discussions in the early days in Leningrad, and afterwards he was the same, but he wanted to make the good changes, and the relations were very nice afterwards. And I just sometimes a little bit wondered how could they live in Leningrad in early days and do things they did for the Communist Party, and afterwards in the open world, same person. And it was funny in a way, but it was very good also, because they knew how to operate. If all the people had gone, it would be very empty.
No directorship or something.
There had to be people who knew how to work in the society, but they had to think otherwise. And that was very interesting.
So you think that actually they made this evolution themselves, so actually they were sincere when they were in the 70s in Komsomol, and they were sincere in the 90s when they were Democrats?
I thought so.
Did you ask them, did you argument or debate with them in the 70s about situation in Soviet Union and this free world thing?
Yes, in a way. But you know, I remember when my colleagues from Leningrad came to Turku, they wanted to see movies that couldn't be seen in Russia. And they knew about the movies, they knew what was interesting, and I arranged it, and they wondered how can it be so, and also
how can it be that they're not showing it in Soviet Union?
Yes, and that was their problem. They thought that it's not right, but they couldn't say it loud, but you could see when they came here, they wanted to know more. They wanted to know why something was not good in Russia, and some music they liked
to listen to.
Liked to listen here, and it was not so easy in those days in Russia to have the new music.
Yeah, absolutely. How did they explain it to themselves? So I'm like in 70s, I am a Russian Komsomol leader, and I tell all the right things, and then I go to Finland, and then I ask my Finnish colleague, show me these movies that I cannot see, I cannot watch in Soviet Union. give me this, you know, vinyl or whatever with the music that I cannot listen to. So how did they explain to themselves?
I don't know, but they wanted to know more, and that was very good because it gave them the idea of something different. And when changes came, it wasn't so bad for them because they had an opportunity to come abroad and see something more. And when the change came, they could also change their ideas, in my opinion.
So is it possible that actually they were not communists at all? In the 70s, they were pretty liberal, but they were hiding behind the communist surface. And when 90s came, they just, you know, shred off the...
I could think that maybe this way. I like Mr. Gorbachev because I think he was a fine person, and he was a communist, but he wanted to open system, but he couldn't keep the system because it was the changes were so big that the system couldn't cope with it. And I think that many those young colleagues who could visit Finland and go abroad and see things more than inside Russia, they knew that they have to be changes. Is it inside of Communist Party or would it be other system? But they knew that something would happen. But they were very careful about that. They wouldn't be saying it very loud. But in the discussion, you could see that they saw that our system was working very good, very well.
In Finland?
In Finland. Yeah. And they knew that there would be better ways to work also in Soviet Union. But how to do it, it was the problem in my opinion.
Did they ask for advice?
Not really advice, but they wanted to know how we are doing something in different way that they do. Why do you have this kind of system? How the democracy is working in student union? How can it be that you have so many parties and how they are working together?
70s, 90s, and 2010s. What do you think is going on in Russia now?
I'm a little bit afraid that they will no changes for a while, and because after the change, the big money went to some special people,
oligarchs,
and that was the big mistake, that the system didn't change so that everybody was getting their fair share about the organization. So now the people in Russia, they don't know what should happen. There's Vladimir Putin. Okay, he will be a president for a while, and
for a very big while.
Maybe a very big while, and they are thinking that it's the only way. This is how it should be, and maybe it's because before the revolution there were times when Tsars have the rule, and there were strong leaders, and after Communist Party leaders were strong leaders, and after 1990s, it was something not so good happening. So many of they thought that we should have a strong leader, and it's better that way, that nobody knows what's happening.
Do I understand you correctly that Russians, or all these nations that live in Russia, we have many of them, they need a master?
It seems so.
What to do?
It will only change in a long way, to have the system working. Because if we think of Estonia, who was part of Soviet Union, but the history was so short that after the change came, there were many people who knew how it functioned before it was a socialist system, and they could change the way of living in short term. But in a big Russia, it's not so easy, because the system had been kind of the same so many decades and so many hundreds of years, and that's why it's not easy to change, and it must come from the people from down. It can't come from up.
Will it come from down? What is your guess?
I think there will be changes, and maybe in 20 years it will be different.
Okay, then the question about democracy. What is democracy?
It's the way that you can say what you think is right, and nobody can say that you are wrong. You understand me? That it's very important that you can be yourself, and you can also choose the person you want to represent you, because everybody cannot be making decisions. You have to have somebody who is representing you in the systems, and you can also vote one person, and next time the other one, if you are not satisfied, you can change people, and you can say that I'm not satisfied and I want to change, and nobody can deny you that right. And that's most important in democracy, that you have the right to say it.
Okay, those who, not only in Russia, but in other countries as well, those who do not believe in democracy, they would say that democracy is about duping people or fooling people to vote for somebody. So it will, and I think you've heard this sort of argument, that those who have money, they will be able to market, to promote their candidates much better than those who do not have money. And so always people who have money will be in power. Can you?
It's kind of an American way, because in USA you can say that you have to have a lot of money to get in the real power. But in Finland it's not true, because if we look at Turku, for instance, and we look at what kind of persons are sitting in the executive organizations, they are very common people. They are not very rich people.
Yeah.
They are teachers, workers, civil servants, many kind of persons. And of course, somebody can use a little bit more money than the other one. But if you go along with people and talk with them, and you can have discussions with your friends and so on, and they can help you if you want to represent them. It doesn't need to have a lot of money. You have to have good ideas, and you have to tell how you think it will be best to work in here. And I'm quite satisfied how our city has been working. We have had changes of parties, and we have a little bit different coalitions, because in democracy one party cannot say what to do. You have to have a coalition, you have to make compromise, and that's part of the good democracy.
Yeah. The question again about people telling or convincing, like you said, teachers, like maybe housewives, or like they are convincing others to vote for them,
Yes.
right? And they become elected.
Yes.
But does it automatically make them good decision makers and politicians?
No, it doesn't. But if they are not good, you can change them after 4 years.
But, I mean, like, will it be that people... Okay, maybe pose a different question. What makes a politician a good politician?
Good politics, they work hard. They learn things. They want to know about whole system. We have good politicians in Turku who are specialized in culture or education or building. But there are quite few of them who know all the parts of the city, how they work. And we need both. We have to have those who think about the whole system and those who are specialized in some things. And when they work together, it's the good way. I have good friends. I'm not a culture politician, but I have friends who are specialized there, and they tell me what should be best in culture. And I pick the best ones from there, and I try to put in the budget. You understand?
Yeah.
Because you can't do everything. You have to choose them. But it's good to have people who can tell the best parts, and we look at the budget and okay, we have money for this and this and this, but we cannot have the others next year. We think it later. And we need many kinds of people who want to develop the city. I'm only a little bit worried about those who are against everything. Because we are also having this kind of politicians who think that everything was better yesterday. We don't have to do anything because this is good. And I think we have to make new things all the time to get the city living and also the society living. We have to think what's happening tomorrow and how we can reach it.
So, do I understand correctly that we need politicians who are specialists, narrow, and politicians who are generalists, who know the view, who have the very holistic, so to say, view of the system? What other competencies? Working hard, knowing the system, knowing some special things. What else makes a good politician a good one?
Good politicians can discuss with people in other parties and can make good compromises. Because without that, there will not happen anything. You have to understand that you have a good idea, but if you haven't got friends in other parties also who can back you up, nothing happens. That's the very, very interesting question, how to make the majority. Because you can be always right and tell that I'm right, I know what to do, but those others don't understand.
They also think they are right. Yeah?
Yes. So you have to compromise, make compromises.
So it's like people skills, negotiation skills, anything else?
How could I say it? It's not always nice to sit in the executive board because people are talking and they just want to hear their own voice. And you have to also understand that. You have to have you have to sit tight many times, and you think this is stupid, but you have to be there and you have to understand the other people, although they were so wrong in my opinion. And how could I otherwise say it, but if you tell somebody you are stupid, he or she will never forget it. You shouldn't say that. You have to be a friend. Although you are in different mind, you have to be a other person's friend, because you might need him or her
Later.
later.
How many times did you have temptation to say, "Shut up, you fool"?
Many times.
And you always stopped yourself, or not always.
Not always, but many times.
Okay. We already touched this coalition party. What is so good about coalition party?
It's a very open party. It's a liberal party, but it's also international party. And I like that. I like Finland very much, but I'm also European. And in our party, that's okay. And we think that, as I told you, we think that everybody is responsible of himself or herself. You have to work. You don't go in the government or in the city say, "I need more. You have to give me. I need that," or you are responsible that I'm not feeling well. We think that person is responsible, and if something happens, you get very sick, or you have some accident or so, the society must help you then. But otherwise, you are responsible. You have to work for yourself, and you cannot think that everything is some other's fault if you are not satisfied.
Is it so that actually this agenda, what coalition party has, it can attract more mature people, more people who believe in themselves, who trust in their possibilities to do something, and not those who are immature, infantile, and wait for the help of others? And
maybe so, but if you really think that those who need help and need support, they should be a coalition party members. Because if those who can manage and who want to work very much and have a better world, without them, we couldn't help those who need sometimes. You understand?
Absolutely. Yeah. Why coalition party somehow lost votes in Finland in recent years? Because it was a leading party, then it was forming coalition. Now it's opposition party. So why?
In this kind of a democracy, it's very often so that party who has been in a power for a long time, you have to make also hard decisions that people don't like, and so they think that you have to change a little bit. So we know that it will happen, although we think we have done as good as possible. It's the right of the people to see if somebody else is doing better. We come back after a few years. So it's the system.
The system. Do you think it's only Finnish phenomenon, or it's a reflection of general inclination to the left? That in the world is changing. Populist leaders become more and more valued. This gap between rich and poor increases, and lots of people, they blame liberal parties and saying, "Hey, we need actually socialism." Lots of people, not only, not in Finland even, but in the States, in Russia. So can we see some more tectonic changes in the world, and that's why Kokoomus lost some votes.
Maybe a little bit of that, because the populist parties are quite popular now, and also in Finland we have lost people to the populist party. That's true. But I don't think that it will be so for many years. It's typical for this time, I think, and when we look at Mr. Trump or Mr. Johnson, I am not sure that it will happen many times. It's now people want to see how this kind of leadership works, and if it doesn't, they will think otherwise. And if we think the socialist way, in Finland, Social Democratic Party has about 20% of people, and left side party under 10. So it's under 30% of the socialist idea in Finland. So if we look at back maybe 30 years ago, they had 45%. If we look at back 50 years, it was over 50%. So I'm not thinking it's a problem.
Okay. Do you not think it's a problem that we have in several countries these alpha male leaders who are showing that they're this macho type like Putin, Trump, Erdogan? I mean, like, do you think it's not a problem?
It is a problem. Of course it's a problem. Dictators are also always a problem in a way. You can say that a good dictator is the best, but there has never been a good dictator, really. Maybe they are not bad, but it's not healthy for the system that you have somebody who thinks that he knows everything best. But I can't say anything else. We just have to look what happens in Turkey or what happens in USA now. But the best thing in Finnish democracy is that although we had different opinions, we are maybe fighting in speaks when we make decisions. I can always go with my socialist friends after the meeting to have a beer or discuss about football or something like that. We have no problem. But if we look at USA, those two parties, they hate each other. Also the persons hate each other. They can discuss together. It's not good. It's not healthy. It makes the society very vulnerable.
What is the difference between Americans and Finns?
I don't.
Are you more friendly?
I cannot say that, but we have used to our people. We are small nation, and we know everybody. We have rural background, where I come from. Also, in a small parish, 3,000-4,000 people. Everybody knew each other, and so if somebody was a communist or somebody was from coalition party, they were neighbors, and they didn't hate each other. It was a bad time when, in early state of our nation, we had a civil war and so on. It was a very bad thing. But after the Second World War, you could be in any political party, but still they could work together. It's some way after the war we were very together being nation. So even everybody, if we play ice hockey, we see that everybody's fighting for Finland. It doesn't matter what your political ideas are. We are Finns still.
Your favorite three politicians in the world history? the ones that can be role models?
If I think when I was young, it was, I think, Kennedy.
JFK.
Yes, he was something special. Although when you have read about him, it wasn't maybe so good, but it was something special in those days. As I told you, I liked Mr. Gorbachev very much. I think he was open and fine person. And who would I say? Maybe Winston Churchill was very interesting. And
Churchill, Kennedy, and Gorbachev.
yeah,
And out of those three, who will be the one?
out of the sea.
Yeah, the best. I mean, like of the three.
It's hard to say if we can always think that maybe Helmut Kohl was very important when we look at European side of the system. He was making German good in many ways, and also after him came the German system. Two nations came together, united, and so on. Many of them, but I picked those.
Okay, just finishing this political thing. Why did Soviet Union collapse?
When I went to Soviet Union, those early days of my political career, I saw many things there, and I thought that it can't last. Because the idea that people are working for the nation, not for themselves, it won't work. If somebody is working very hard, but he's not getting enough reward for it, he won't work long. After some years, he thinks that let the others work. I have tried, and I hadn't got anything more than the others, so I have made much more effort. And you have to reward person if he works very hard and makes good results. You have to give him some extra, or it won't work.
And individualize probably somehow his effort.
Yes.
Right, because otherwise it won't last long.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. You did so many. You took part in so many fantastic projects in Turku City. What, like, Pohjola Bridge and like all that, what is your favorite that you really like? You feel it's your darling.
My darling is the river Aura and the banks of Aura. What we have done in there, it's not ready still, but we have done a lot, and it's the finest place in Turku, and what has happened in there.
Yeah, it's fantastically beautiful. Why it's not finished still?
We have put millions and millions in the river Aura, and you cannot make it work in 1 year. So you have to have a plan for every year what is happening there. And now it's almost ready. But in the harbor, we have now this architect system. We will see what will be done.
Marina Palace.
It's the area of the castle of Turku, and what will happen there. Yeah. And then it will be quite ready.
I've heard that several construction projects that started some years ago, they were over budget and behind schedule. Why?
First, I have to say that I must emphasize that most of the projects are okay, but you hear only those where problems. If we look at the theater, when we decided to renew it, I told in the city council that if we could do the right thing, we should tear down the old theater and build a new one, because it will be very expensive to make the old one in the new system. And I told that it will be very expensive and the budget is not enough. And so happened. But I knew, and many people knew, that it's very, very expensive. I don't know why the budget was not good. Maybe that we waited, what could I say, 20, 30 years before we decided to renew it. And we should have made it much earlier, and it would have been easier and not so expensive. And now I think that those who wanted to have the money for the theater thought that if they put the budget too high, it won't go through the council.
So lower bid, sort of.
So lower bid, that they could have the decision, and then if it costs a little bit more, so what? And I don't like this kind of thinking, but I understand, because they had tried to have money many years for that theater. Okay, that was one thing. But if we think of this bridge of Logomo, if you want to make a bridge, you should make a bridge. But we wanted to do an art. And it's not very good idea to make art that should work like a bridge. And we have had the idea of certain time when it should be ready, and it was a mistake. We shouldn't put the timetable so tight. And now they tried to keep the timetable, and they decided to start building this Logomo bridge before the plan was ready. And that was a big, big mistake. Because it was so special, because it's an art, it's a sculpture, it's not a bridge. It was so special that afterwards we shouldn't have made this. We should have made the bridge, not this kind of system. But
how did they manage to convince that there's like who was behind that? Like, you know, that, you know, we should make art.
Because there was a decision to make a bridge, but we had a competition of architects who made this special kind of bridges, and it was very fine. It was very nice when we saw this idea of lights, and it was some parabol systems and so on. It was very nice. It was very easy. They said, this is very fine. This is something special. We like to have this one. And then we said that, okay, it's a little bit more expensive. It will cost about 8 million, 8.5 million. And we said, it's quite expensive for the bridge, but okay, it's so nice. But we didn't know that the price was not right. We saw it, we started to build it. We had used 5 million, and then they thought that 8 million is not enough. There are some problems of this constructing system, and we need 12 million. Okay, we have put 5 million, so 8 million should have been. Okay, we have to put some 4 million more, and after 1 year, it doesn't work. We have to put even more and more and more, and I hope we don't have to put any more money. It's now it was something should never happen, but maybe we learn about that.
What about cable car? Seems it's not always working.
Yes, but that's not a big big problem in a way, because when we have this kind of a cable system, and it's not a normal. It's something special. You can have this kind of problems, but it was also too expensive, and in this case, we started that we have this cable elevator, so that we don't have to have buses in the hill of Kakola, because the roads are very narrow, and it would have been not easy. So you have this cable elevator, so that people can go down and have the bus down. This was the idea. But when they were constructing it, those responsible of our communications and buses thought that it should be a part of Feli. So you have to pay a ticket to go there, and that's why you have to have a little bit bigger elevator, and you have to have some special stations down and up, because it should be this kind of a bus station. They didn't ask about the politicians that is it okay. They just decided to make the changes, and the changes were made.
They who?
Civil servants,
Okay.
those working there, and they made it piece by piece. So the decisions were made. A little change there, it can cost something. Little there, little there, little there. Nobody told the politicians about the whole and what is happening, how much the costs are rising. And when it came to the executive board, they said it will be a part of Feli. But I was the chairman then, and I told, no, we don't want that people pay. It must be open for people to go there. It was the idea.
Yeah.
And we decided so that there's no tickets, you can use it. And quite a lot of money was put in vain because of the idea that it would be a part of Feli. And now we will be discussing about who has made the decision, and we will see who is responsible about decisions made without knowing how much it will cost. We have made the system so that it cannot happen anymore, but quite a lot of money has been spent for this, so we had the wrong system of working.
Okay. In many countries, these big construction projects are said to be full of corruption. Does corruption exist in Finland?
No, not in my opinion. We have a very tight competitions in this kind of buildings and bridges, and so you cannot pay for it. You have to made what you promised, and nobody is coming there. Of course, small works. Sometimes we had some persons who have got money for something they have decided, but not really. It has been some. If one or two persons in 20 years have done something wrong, it's not a problem in Finland.
Why? In many countries it is a problem.
That's true, but when I was in Bali for a holiday some 15 years ago, when I was a deputy mayor here. And the manager of the hotel there, he wanted to show us what's happening in the new beach in the Bali. And I told him that I'm the deputy mayor of the city, And he said, "You must be very rich." I said, "How so? I'm just a civil servant." "No, because you are the next in the system. So in our system, you would be very rich, but you would get money for everything we done, because you cannot do everything here if you don't pay everybody." We don't understand in Finland about this kind of thinking, that you have to pay for something. If we think our president, he's always telling that he won't take anything. He even gives some away of his money. This is the idea of Finnish politicians, that we don't do it for money. We of course we hope that we could have enough, but no, we don't have to have more.
I know that you know Mr. President, actually.
Yes, I know him.
And you studied, or?
Yes, because he is from Salo. He's near here, and he was sitting in the executive board of coalition party, aerial coalition party, when I was secretary there. So, and we know our families together. We had been abroad with the families, so I know him quite well.
Was it somehow visible at some point 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40, that this person would be a president of Finland?
No, but I knew that he could be a good member of parliament, but maybe a minister. But no, we think that Kekkonen will be president for a long time.
Okay. Xenophobia. Does it exist in Finland?
Yes. You know, it's a sad thing, but we have it.
Why and where? Okay, why? Because people are different, usually. But where? In what? Is it spread homogeneously in the society, or in some places more than in others?
Hard to say. I think it's in every place a little bit. Somewhere a little bit more, somewhere a little bit less. But still, we have it. We cannot hide it. And it's a sad thing that people are afraid of differences.
How to tackle it? How to fight it? Or
maybe because we are in Turku, and Turku is a multicultural city. We have been it for centuries. We have learned to live with Swedish people, German people, Russians, and now we have some problems with education, because in Finland, in Turku, people are talking 104 languages. So
104 languages in
Turku. So we know how to work with it. Still, it doesn't mean that everybody would be satisfied. Of course, there are always somebody saying that why give money for that, because we need it also. And if somebody comes from other country for reasons or what they are, always somebody is saying he's or she is getting something that should be mine. It will be always so, because we are human, and it's easy to put your finger in somebody else than yourself.
So why give money to people coming from these 104 languages?
Of course, if we have decided this is open society, we have to be also responsible of what happens after that. If we are not working with people who live in here, even they have another language or other nationality behind, we would be very stupid, because it's the multicultural system is very good if you work it in the right way. If we can benefit for those differences, you understand it. It's a good thing to learn something new and have something special.
What what new these multicultural people bring, and what good in it?
Many of the people coming from other countries, they have different way in thinking of family, thinking of elderly people, children, of work, of making enterprises. They give us new ideas if we just let them do it. The problem is many times that our society is so depending on how people understand Finnish. Maybe if you are working, it's easy with those very well-educated people who can speak good English or so. But if you are working in a lower level, it's not easy if you can't cope with Finnish, and sometimes it takes too long. It makes difference because if you have a good person who is engineer or something like that, you have to use 2 or 3 years to get the place to work even before you have learned enough Finnish and so on. And we are trying to tackle this all the time, having many courses of Finnish and learning how to work in Finland and what kind of system we have.
How to better integrate into the Finnish society? What are the best ways?
I'm trying to do it all the time. I am working with many nations. I have good friends in Vietnamese and in Kurds, with the Russian people. I try to learn and be a friend with different kind of people. And I cannot see any other way but just to tell everybody that you should go and learn and what people coming from abroad are thinking. I have been abroad quite a lot, and I think it's natural that you have different backgrounds, and I don't think it's a problem. But of course, it's a problem if somebody is coming here just to have some benefits. Not to do anything, just to thinking that that Finnish society is somehow, they have to do something.
Owes something,
We don't owe. We can give opportunities, but it's not an open money.
When does a new member or a guest, basically a guest from another country, become a full member of Finnish society? Never?
No, but how could I say? When I came to study Turku 50 years ago, they said that being a member of Turku, citizen of Turku, real person of Turku, it takes about 30 years.
Turkulainen.
To be a Turkulainen. So you understand it can be also inside of Finland to be something. If you come from eastern part of Finland where your language is a little bit different, it takes quite a long time when you be Turkulainen because everybody hears you or you are coming from from somewhere else. You are not one of us. So you have to understand that if you are not speaking Finnish, it will be taking a little bit time than you are really inside our society. But it doesn't mean that you are not a friend. But still, it takes time to be a Finn.
Bridge. So how many years do you play bridge?
Same 50 years.
Same 50 years. And you are head of this bridge society? Or?
Yes, I was 21 years chairman of Bridge Union.
Why bridge?
When I was a small kid, my parents were keen to playing cards. And we played so that I was playing with my mother, and my little brother was playing with my father. Some card playing, Bismarck, some other games. So I was very used to playing cards when I was small. And when I came to student union, I saw some guys playing some game I didn't know, and I just looked at behind and what they were doing, and I could understand a little bit, and so I just started to play, and it has been important to me because it's one way of getting out of normal work. Because if you are playing bridge, you have to concentrate. You cannot just put your cards, you have to think all the time. So if I'm going jogging, running, it doesn't help me many times. I'm thinking political or my work. But when I play bridge, those few hours, I don't think anything else. So it helps me.
Like switching.
Yeah.
How bridge is the most intellectual card game? And I think it's accepted by Olympic Committee.
Yes.
It's an Olympic game, basically.
Yes, basically, yes. It's we think that bridge and chess are quite near each other. The other one is playing open in playground, and bridge with cards. And mind games, we call them. And it's bridge is quite difficult, but everybody still can play it. But if you play in high level, so you have to work quite a lot. I have also played in the Finnish team in European Championships and so on. And I have made many friends around the world because of bridge. Because in World Bridge Union there are about 120 countries, and it has been an interesting travel with this game because I was the chairman so long, and I went to meetings all over the world.
What from bridge can be taken to life or to politics?
Friends in life, but the politics, bridge is also psychological play, so that you have to think what your opponents, how they are thinking, and how you can mix their thinking, because you can be a good player in technical way, but you have to also know in bridge how to make opponents playing difficult. And that's also in politics. Maybe you know things very well, but you have to also think like your opponents and think that
I know what they know, that I know that.
Yes, and how could you make them do what you want to do?
Advices from your fantastic hundreds or half a century political executive career, how to deal with time, how to deal with people, like the best advices that people can use.
I haven't got them. Sometimes you work 7 days a week and don't sleep a lot. Sometimes it's easier, you can go to the cottage and play golf and forget it. It depends on the situation, what is happening, because in politics you have to be alert. Things can change, can something happen. When in 5 years ago, when we had this problem of immigration suddenly happened, then we had to work very hard and think all the time in 2 weeks and put things together. Then some other time nothing is happening, so you can make it easy and you can read. Because in politics you have to read, and also literature. You see what's happening in the world and what has happened, so you understand a little bit better maybe.
How to select best people for the team?
Many times you cannot do it. You have to. You have to use those you got.
Play with the cards that you. So no trick here.
No trick.
Okay, thank you very much. And Lewis Carroll blitz. Why is a raven like a writing desk?
I don't know. Sorry.
Where can I find someone normal?
Always and ever in the world, you know someone is normal.
Makeup rule 42.
Don't believe everything you have been told.
What makes the world go round?
There's a song, money makes the world go round, but I use it, money makes the world go round.
Who in this world are you?
Maybe I'm Raven.
The best way to explain is?
You don't explain, you just work.
What would happen if everybody minded their own business?
There would be a very lonely world.
One of the deep secrets of life is?
Children.
What to do if you want to get to a place you want to be?
I go there.
Thank you very much, and all the best possible luck with all your endeavors. Thank you very much for what you have done already and for what you are doing.
Thank you, Sergei.
And that's all talks for today. Have a great tomorrow.